Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a new session with Mr. Abdul Wahab Jamal. Our English session today is Unit 2, Grandmother's Song. This is Cambridge, of course, lower secondary, and we are dealing with English as first language. This is Unit 2, regarded to students of Year 7 and Year 8. And we are going to deal with the first lesson of Unit 2, and entitled Life in the Village. Now, the story The Grandmother's Song in this unit, we are going to study a short story called The Grandmother's Song by Barbara Soros, and we are going to look at the structure of the story, the theme or the central message explores, as well as the ways in which we could understand or interpret. We are going to consider the influence of the story's cultural context. In this session, we will consider how a writer establishes the setting of a story. We are going to explore how sentence opening are used to guide the reader. We are going to explore interpretations and meanings of figurative language in character description, as well as to analyze how a writer combines techniques for effect. This is English as first language again, and we are going to read the story with each other. Okay? Grandmother's Song by Barbara Soros is a short story by a grandmother and her granddaughter who live in a village of Mexico. Read the first part of the story and answer the questions. Let's listen to the story or to extract number 1 with each other.
Extract 1. In the heart of Mexico, hawks soar above high mountains and swoop down to gentle slopes of corn below. There, on glistening rocks, iguanas rest beneath the hot tropical sun. Toucans chatter to ring-tailed cats perched in emerald green trees. All through these hills, puma run, grey foxes search for chickens, and wolves call to each other in the night. In a village, at the foot of these mountains, a grandmother lived with her granddaughter. They planted corn, tomatoes, and sunflowers in the spring, and watched as new green shoots sprang from the earth. They gathered milk-white lilies in the summer, and put them in baskets on their backs, and took them to market. At harvest time, they decorated tall stalks of maize at the corn festival to give thanks for the year's grain. Grandmother stood, proud and tall, her downy cheeks stretched smooth and plump across wide cheekbones. Her eyes were deep and warm and brown, and though they were sad, they were also kind. Powerful legs and sturdy feet rooted her to the earth like an ancient tree. Her arms were strong and her hands graceful, with long, fine fingers.
Okay. Extract 1 is the introduction or the start or the opening of the story. And we are going to notice that the writer set the scene in a village of Mexico, and she used lots of descriptive language and imagery in order to let the reader imagine or understand the place. She used lots of descriptive language, lots of colors, lots of adjectives, lots of adverbs. Look at the red words, okay? And she tried to describe the surroundings as well. When she moves from describing the scene or the setting into the characters, she started with the older character, the grandmother, and she started to describe the character, the grandmother, from inside and from outside, using implicit and explicit. So she said, stood proud and tall, downy cheeks, okay? And for example, deep and warm and brown, look at the colors, powerful legs, her arms were strong. All of these is to describe the character of the grandmother, okay? Our sentences are short in order to deliver an idea, in order to describe, in order to let the reader understand or imagine the scene. Uh, let's read the other one, extract number 2 with each other, and then we will move into analyzing and explaining the text.
Extract 2. Granddaughter was as delicate as the blossoms of a jacaranda tree. Her wide open eyes shone black and clear. Her tiny bow lips looked as if she ate strawberries all day long. Granddaughter loved to explore and to imagine. She often played in the fields and forests on her own, but as she played, she trembled, for she was afraid of the dark shadows, and of the cries of the animals, and of anything that was new and strange. If she heard anything, even the scamper of an ocelot on the upper branches, her heart fluttered and her stomach churned, and she shook from the inside out and the outside in, like dry leaves rustling in a sack on a windy afternoon. One day, trembling granddaughter met an armadillo. It was just an ordinary armadillo running across her path, but she shook and shivered as though it were a huge bear with sharp claws and gnashing teeth. After that, every passing shadow seemed to be the fearsome creature following her home.
That's wonderful. In extract 2, we jumped into describing the character number 2, granddaughter. And of course, we have contrasting image. We have contrasting idea between the grandmother character, how strong and old is, and the granddaughter, and how fragile, weak, and young is. So this contrasting will help us to understand the imagery or the differences between the characters of both the grandmother and the granddaughter. This is a fiction technique, of course. In order to engage the reader, you have to describe or to try to give description of both characters. One is big, the other is small. One is young, the other is old. And then the writer tries to give you details and ideas of how she thinks, how she looks like. For example, how fragile and weak is she when she saw an ocelot or when she saw the armadillo? What happened to her? Okay, how fearful was, how fearful she was. I wanted now to extract the words, okay, before going on into the analysis. I need now to extract the words or to talk about the features of the text. The genre of the story is short story, of course, and it combines the elements of traditional storytelling because it is a story happened in Mexico or in the heart of Mexico, and it has a descriptive narrative as well. So this combination will give the story rich cultural context and lots of imagery, reflecting themes, central messages, ideas of nature, familiar bonds between the family members, as well as personal growth, because this young girl will develop. She will be grown up later on in other extracts. And the grandmother will pass away. So the whole idea, as I said in the class, is to explain that the spirit, for example, or the song of the grandmother will go through, will pass from generation to another generation. So this granddaughter will become old enough and she will be strong, she will be independent, she will be brave, the character will develop. Okay, we will see in the later extracts. Now, the conventions of the genre, I have lots of descriptive language, descriptive setting, because the setting is vividly described to immerse the reader, to engage the reader in the world of the story. And the character development, the characters are portrayed with depth through physical and emotional, from outside and inside descript or descriptions. Figurative language, of course, we have lots of similes, metaphors, as well as imagery in order to let the character or to describe the characters as well as the setting. Cultural context, as I said, it happened in central of Mexico and it incorporates cultural practices such as the corn festivals, anchor it in a specific time and a specific place. If I wanted to analyze the text in a simple language, simple way, extract 1 is talking about the grandmother and the village. The setting is inside the village in Mexico, and it was introduced with sensory imagery showcasing the beauty of nature and its wildlife. Characterization, we are focusing on the grandmother character as described, being strong, wise, and nurturing figure. The central message or the theme is to connect this character to a nature, to cultural traditions, to stability, when they said rooted to the land or to the ground. While in extract 2, we have the granddaughter. The granddaughter characterization is delicate, weak, imaginative, fearful, okay? Vulnerability, vulnerability contrasts with the grandmother's strength. Themes, she is innocent, she has fear, she is afraid of the unknown, and we have the journey of personal growth from bad into good or from weak into strong. I wanted to extract the powerful words and powerful phrases so students will understand the text more. I put the word phrases, I put the meaning of them, I put the effect, why, and how we use them. In the heart of Mexico, it's central part of Mexico, and the effect of using it to establish a vivid and exotic setting. A setting which is amazing and special. Hawks soar above high mountains describes the birds flying over tall peaks, and the effect, of course, is to evoke and to show freedom, majesty, symbolizing vastness and adventure. Glistening rocks, they are shiny, sparkling rocks, and the effect is to highlight the beauty of the natural landscape. Downy cheeks, as I said in the class, we can use it for elderly people and babies, okay, newborn babies. So cheeks covered in fine and soft hair suggest warmth, gentleness in the grandmother's appearance. Rooted her to the earth like an ancient tree, a metaphor comparing the grandmother to a tree, symbolizes her wisdom, stability, and connection to nature. As delicate as the blossom of jacaranda tree or plant. That's a simile to compare granddaughter to fragile flowers who are very young and very new. Emphasizes the effect, of course, to emphasize her youth, beauty, and vulnerability. Her heart fluttered and her stomach churned. Describes the physical reaction to fear, and the effect, of course, is to create empathy with the reader by making her emotions tangible, okay, touchable, and relatable. Shook like dry leaves, she is uh, sh shaking, she is freezing out. So shook like dry leaves rustling in a sack. That's a simile to describe it trembling, and the effect is to enhance the intensity of her fear and the fragility. Okay? Now, in order to understand the setting in the text, setting, where the story happened, I will analyze the setting. The location, of course, is in the heart of Mexico. Hawks soar above high mountains. Nature, okay? Toucans chatter to ring-tailed cats perched in emerald green trees. Look how rich the vocabulary is. Okay? I have connection to nature. I have animals, birds, and everything related to nature. Village life. They planted corn, tomatoes, and some flowers in the spring. What about the cultural traditions? Of course, villagers, when they plant, they have to harvest. So, at harvest time, they decorated tall stalks of maize at the corn festivals. That's a habit, that's a tradition. So, four things and four examples from the text. Okay? Make notes on how the writer represents the setting of Mexico in the extract. Okay? Now, tell me something about the openings of the story. The openings of the story. Okay? Now, sentences can start or opened by subject, pronoun, subject, noun, object, for example, preposition, adverbial. So tell me something about the sentence opening and patterns and what's the effect of them. Example, in the heart of Mexico, preposition in introduces a larger geographical setting. In the heart of Mexico, that's the opening of the sentence. In a village at the foot of these mountains, that's another opening. A grandmother stood proud and tall, that's another opening. Okay? They planted corn, that's an opening to a sentence. They gathered at harvest time, that's an opening. Can you see? So what about these opening? We talked about in to introduce larger thing. What about on glisting rocks? Prepositions on shifts focus into specific details in the environment. On, okay? On. They planted corn. Pronoun they shows the routine and the unity of a grandmother and a granddaughter, while the other one, they gathered lilies, the pronoun they highlights the shared activity, the mutual connection of the grandmother and the granddaughter to nature. When reading the opening of a story, think about how the setting is introduced. What hints might this give you about the story? Does this lead to expect a happy tale? Does it suggest danger? I think there is no danger at all. When you have a relaxing opening, you have a relaxing story and relaxing plot. Ultimately, relaxing ending. Okay? When you have shocking or unexpected start or opening, of course you have dangerous plot, and so you have danger ending. Now go to extract 2. We have language focus. What's the metaphor? It's to compare two things using as or like? No. It's to compare two things without using as or like. Simile is to compare two things using as or like. Literal, it means we have literal meaning, straightforward meaning. Literal, okay? Real, direct. Figurative language opens up different meanings which add complexity or complexity to description. Example, if a man described using the simile like the sun hidden by cloud, I'm describing a man by being like a sun hidden by a cloud, that means the man looked miserable but actually happy. Or that man brings a positive attitude to bad situation. He is the sun inside or in the middle of a cloud. Or the man's positive attitude is spoiled by the world he lives in. So we have more than one meaning when you are using the simile or the metaphor. But when thinking about the meanings of the figurative language, like similes and metaphors, always read them in context. So read the whole sentence and read the whole paragraph in order to understand, is it positive or negative? Is it good or bad? Okay? That's the meaning. You have to understand how to use the metaphor or the simile according to the context of the sentence. Okay? The writer uses similes to describe grandmothers and granddaughters. I need examples and I need you to explain them, please. Okay? So, moving into figurative language, the writer uses similes and metaphor to provide, deeper insights to the characters, to let you understand more. Why do we use figurative language? Just to enhance or to paint an image in your mind. Simile examples, search for as or like. Granddaughter was a delicate or was as delicate as the blossom of jacaranda tree. The simile here compares the daughter's delicacy to fragile blossoms of jacaranda tree, just to let you understand how weak is she. That suggests fragility, that suggests beauty, and that suggests youthful. Okay? Fragility or fragility, like blossom, the granddaughter is easily affected by her environment. The beauty, of course, a blossom represents or symbolize natural beauty, highlighting her physical and emotional sensitivity. Youthfulness, of course, because usually the blossoms or the jacaranda, they are young. So it's the imagery of blossoms evokes renew and innocence as well. Now, something very important between extract 1 and extract 2, the characterization, as I said. Because here we have a grandmother, and here we have the granddaughter. And of course, when you move from paragraph to another paragraph, or from extract to another extract, you are changing the whole idea. So, contrast the characters is technique very, very, very useful. It will tell you when and how to change the mood and the tone of the story as well. So, can you contrast the characters? Yes. I have two characters, grandmother and granddaughter. A grandmother, it was written in the text, powerful legs like an ancient tree. While the granddaughter, delicate as the blossom of jacaranda tree. The meaning is so obvious. The meaning is very clear. It will give me an idea that this person is powerful grandmother, and this character, the granddaughter, is weak and fragile. And of course, in any fiction story, we have something called character development. So the character will change and could become better or worse. So I predict that the granddaughter will become older, stronger, and more independent. The grandmother, maybe she will die or she will become, for example, weaker or whatever, because time or age will play very important factor in the development of the story. So as the story progresses, a prediction, anticipation, the granddaughter might draw strength and courage from grandmother, because remember the title of the story, The Grandmother's Song, growing more confident and grounded. We will see in extract 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. A very important idea, the writer combines the structural and language techniques, including contrast and the figurative language. In order to show the character of the granddaughter, write a paragraph to explain the method. I said this literally, or I said it orally, but they need me to write it. I will write it now. Innocence and fear in the granddaughter character, the simile, she looks like dry leaves rustling in a sack. It's an image. Her heart fluttered and her stomach churned. Look at the sound. Okay? Fluttered, churned. Contrasting, of course, between the grandfathers and the grandmother and the granddaughter, the granddaughter's fear versus the grandmother's strength highlights the dynamic between the two characters and foreshadows potential growth, as we said here. Okay? Granddaughter might change into something better. Can you tell me something about the story structure? Any story, boys and girls, any story will start with introduction, with beginning, to describe the opening, to set the scene, and to introduce the character, character connection or character introduction. Then this character should develop in the plot or in the middle. Okay? And in order to showcase or to highlight or to focus on the character, you have to create two types of characters and you have to put connection or contraction between both of them. So the structure of the story, the paragraph shape between extract 1 and extract 2, look at the paragraphs. This paragraph introducing the setting, this character describing the scene, this character introducing the character, this character introducing the other character, this character describing the character, this paragraph, sorry, describing the character and how they will develop. Okay? So tell me something about the structure. I have opening description. The opening description establishes settings and tone. It will introduce the reader to the cultural and environmental backdrop of the story, while the character introduction will introduce the grandmother and the granddaughter, but it will develop a relationship between characters and hints at themes or growth and guidance. They will develop later. And use of contrast, of course, it will highlight differences between a grandmother and a granddaughter, creates tension, creates anticipation, creates a prediction to what will happen to the character later. Okay? You can ask yourself, we can make a quiz or assessment or, for example, like plenary to see ourselves. Do we understand so far or not? How does the writer establish the setting of the story? That will refer to sensory imagery and the specific examples of nature and village life. What is the effect of repeating the pronoun they in the second paragraph? To stress or to focus on the relationship or the familial bonds, because both of them are using the same thing. So we have mutual thing between them. They like each other. They understand each other. They share things. Number 3, explain the simile. Granddaughter was as delicate as the blossom of the grandest tree. She is weak, she is fragile, and she is young. What are the similarities and differences between the grandmother and the granddaughter? Both of them, the similarity, both of them are attached to nature. But the differences, one, the granddaughter is young, the grandmother is old. The granddaughter is fragile and weak. The granddaughter is old and, sorry, is stable and rooted. The granddaughter has no experience, inexperienced, while the grandmother is experienced. And how does the writer show the granddaughter's innocence and fear when she saw the armadillo? She was afraid and she ran away. And whenever she is looking around, even shadow, the shadow, whenever she will see a shadow, she will be what? Afraid. At the heart, or after that, every passing shadow seemed to be the fearsome culture following her home. Can you believe? She's very afraid. She's very fragile. Okay? If I want to check about my summary, I will ask myself, what about the skill, okay, I used in my writing? Can I comment on how the writer structures the story's openings and establish setting? Can I explain the purpose and the effect of particular sentence opening? Can I understand how simile and metaphor reveal character? And can I describe how structural and language technique show character traits? Yes, I can, and that's my writing. I prepared a writing task, okay, to reflect on the text, to reflect on what we understand. Write a descriptive paragraph that introduces a character inspired by nature, similar exactly to the grandmother or the granddaughter in your story. Your character should reflect a connection to the environment and convey the personality through imagery and figurative language. In order to plan, you have to brainstorm, you have to make the planning, you have to write, and you have to revise. In your brainstorming, think of nature setting like forest, beach, desert. Decide on your character's traits like strength, gentleness, and fear. In your planning, choose to describe or to use the 3 descriptive details about the setting and identify metaphors and similes in order to create image and represent the character. When you write, try to begin a sentence opening, establish the setting, set the scene, introduce the character, use vivid language, use figurative imagery or figurative language in order to create image. When you finish writing, you have to revise to check on what you wrote. Do you have any sensory details or descriptive language? What about the description of consistent with characters' traits? Because you are focusing on the characters from inside and outside. And remember, this is fiction, and you want to engage the reader, so you have to put lots of explicit and implicit meaning. That's my paragraph. In the heart of rainforest, where emerald's leaves glisten, okay? After the rain, lived a young boy named Matthew. His eyes as bright as sunlight flittering through the canopy revealed a curiosity that knew no bounds. Can you see? So he is brave and he likes to investigate or explore. Matthew's slender hands moved gracefully. Okay, he's powerful, he's strong, like the flowing river nearby. Look at the simile. gathering wild fruits from the jungle. He is experienced and he knows what to do. Yet his footsteps fluttered at every strand or strange sound. He is explorer. And his heart raced. He likes the adventure, yet he is afraid. But he is trying to be brave. Trembling like a hummingbird caught in a sudden breeze. Can you see the descriptive language? Despite his fears, that's from within, from outside, he is something else. Matthew felt the pull of the forest. He is attached to the forest, to the nation. Its whispers, he can listen to them, promising adventure and secrets yet to be uncovered. Okay? That's prediction, or that's to attract the reader into something will happen later. That's the foreshadow. Okay? Ask yourself to see a checklist of writing. Does the paragraph describe the setting clearly? Yes, I use lots of descriptive language according to the setting or the place. Have you used figurative language effectively? I use lots of simile and metaphor. Does the description reveal the character's traits? Yes, I understood that from outside to inside. He is strong, he is brave, he has some weakness, but again, he has lots of strength. Are these sensory details in your writing? Yes, I described some sensory details from what he can see, what he can hear, what he can smell, and what he can feel or touch. Have you revised the spelling and the grammar? Of course, I have to describe or to revise my spelling, my grammar, my subject-verb agreement, and everything related to the text or to the task. Okay? The homework, grandmother song, 2.1 life in the village. That's your homework. It's the workbook. It will explain the language focus, to use simile and metaphor, and then they will ask you 3 questions. One is focus, to find the figurative language or highlighting the examples from them, similes and metaphors, imagery if you wish, and then they give you a simile and they give you now practice to apply. Give me which one do you think is correct, and that challenge, which is writing, is very important. Write your own sentence including simile or metaphor about a situation. So you have to show me your muscles, okay, in writing similes and metaphors. And that was the session of today. I'd like to thank you so much and see you inshallah in 2.2 tomorrow or after tomorrow inshallah. This is Mr. Abdul Wahab Jamalani saluting all of you and see you around. Thank you and have a nice day.